Cheers to everyone here.
I know.
I love you all.
I wish I had wine. I have LaCroix.
I've been drinking it all day.
Respect.
We've drinking more LaCroix in this house, and it's like recycle bag after recycle bag after recycle bag.
We're waiting on a Costco order for more.
Nice.
Well, I would like to see that. Hold on.
Does anyone know this Wish I Knew Before I Do girl?
They're out of, I think, Charlotte.
Okay. She's like
a new blog. She follows us on Instagram. She responded to my post.
Very sweet. She wrote
We've had a few that say they're gonna sign on. People that are not our clients, that must just follow us.
So nice. We just had just before this, someone just sent us a wedding for cancellation for May 2nd. So just right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Not here yet. Well, it doesn't. I don't think it lets anybody in until 29 seconds.
Okay, great. Oh, you have this whole thing.
25.
You guys, am I more lit here because of my elf light?
B, I have the full setup.
Yeah, because you have our fucking ring light, bro. You have. Okay. Not everyone. Some other people had to run out during a virus of 10. Okay, here we go.
Going live to attendees in 4, 3, 2. All right. Charlie's here. All right. We'll give people a few minutes as they start to come through and come on.
I'm doing some last minute tweets and
invites.
Love that.
Do you guys have Twitter? Chat me your Twitters if you have them. Your Twitters?
I mean, I have
Bevin, and there's one that looks like it's not really you.
Do you tweet?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Twitter.
I went on Twitter and there were tweets from months ago, and it was scary. And I responded to all of them in a row, and they were like, "This is old." So,
That's
fully an indication that you don't actually use Twitter, that you just get on every once in a while.
Whatever. Oh, okay.
Hi,
So, hey, Ashley.
We're going to give everybody just 1 to 2 minutes to kind of get settled and get on. We currently have wine, so feel free to join us.
You have champagne. Wine or champagne?
No, rosé. It's hot here, you guys. It's in the high 70s. It's rosé drinking weather, not red.
Sweaters.
Oh, she can't hear us anymore.
Okay.
Charlie? Let's see.
But I could initially. Okay.
Okay. Still can't hear.
I would. I'm just going to say, because I'm the worst technically challenged, try signing out and signing back in. Or is that?
Hey, Alex. Alex, can you hear us? Okay, great. And then, Ashley, are you still having a problem? Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's just get started, and people can continue to join all along. So we are so excited to have you here for our very first ever Mother Says Is There Sound. Hopefully. I think you guys have to turn your sound on to make sure it's on, because some people are hearing.
I had this problem.
Okay, Alex had to sign off and sign back. She was on mute. Okay, so you guys unmute. Here.
We should just tell people how to do it.
All right, we're going in. Thank you, Brittney,
Yeah.
for clarifying.
that happened to me as well numerous times. So
yeah.
not to worry. All right, B, you want to kick us off?
Yes. Okay. So we are so excited to have you guys here for our very first ever webinar series with Be My Neighbor. This one is Corona Canceled. I'm Bevin Prince, and this is this way. That's Brittney Levine, and we are the co-hosts of the Be My Neighbor podcast. And as some of you know, Brittney, 2 years ago now, 2018, had to cancel her wedding due to Hurricane Florence. And it was the week of her wedding that she had to cancel. Wednesday, car packed, ready to go. And we had several people reach out to us over the past 2 weeks, really wanting some advice on how to navigate this really challenging and new uncertain time that we're currently in. So we called on two incredible experts that we have here today. We have Rachel Jo Silver, who is the founder of LoveStoriesTV, who we've had on our podcast before. She was on episode 7. And then we also have Francesca DiSalvo. How do you say your last name? Is it Follmer?
Follmer. You can just go by DiSalvo, though. It's fine.
Okay. Well, I like Follmer. I like the hyphenation, so we're going with that. And Francesca is a Charleston wedding planner at Pure Luxe Bride, and was also Brittney's wedding planner during her whole experience back in 2018.
Yep.
So, Rach, we had you on the podcast. We know all about you. We know all about Love Stories TV. Can you kind of fill everybody in who is new to this about you and Love Stories TV itself?
Yeah, so Love Stories TV is a video platform for wedding ideas and inspiration. So on LoveStoriesTV.com, we have tens of thousands of real wedding videos from all over the world that have been uploaded by videographers and newlyweds. And when people upload their video, they tag all the details about the wedding. So the venue, the vendors, the style, the love story. So if you are planning your wedding, you can come to LoveStoriesTV.com and watch real wedding videos to find a venue or see what vendors have worked at your venue or get ideas for a boho wedding or a rustic wedding or a Jewish wedding or a lesbian wedding or wedding in Charleston or anything you could think of. And in addition to our website, we have a Snapchat Discover channel where we share content. We have our Instagram, our Facebook, our YouTube, our Pinterest. We do a lot of offline events. We're not doing a whole lot of those at the moment, but we're bringing them online. And so we're really, inspiring people through wedding video content. And we have a network of vendors called the Love Club, who are a featured vendor network. That's what we do. And I was at Birchbox for many years before launching Love Stories TV. So my background's in video and social media marketing. And that's it.
Thank you, Rachel. You're amazing. Also, we just want, Francesca, if you could just tell us a little bit about you and your work.
Definitely. So I'm a wedding planner and event designer in Charleston, South Carolina. I would say about 90% of our weddings are destination weddings. So our clients are not physically located here in Charleston. They're all over the country, some outside of the country. And we had the pleasure of doing Brittney and Brian's wedding and had the pleasure of working with them for just a little bit longer. So we really know them well and their families well, and had a really good experience with them. But we like to get to know all of our couples and continue relationships. So we're so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. And Britt, maybe it's a good time for you to give those that do not know a little bit of your backstory and what happened with your wedding in 2018.
Sure, yeah. So if you hadn't heard our podcast episode, I think it was really our 3rd episode in, Bevin, where we just were hit by all of this. We had just launched Be My Neighbor thing for us, and then that happened. So lovely timing. But yeah, I really, really feel for all of you right now, because going into about a week of our wedding after planning for about a year, got all the weather reports, 90 text messages coming through that there was going to be a big hurricane. And yes, hurricane season in Charleston is September, but we would have never thought that this would happen to us. And had our whole car packed, everything ready to go. Everyone's flights were booked, all of that. And basically, we're told by the governor that Charleston was shutting down and we could not get in. family members of mine still felt that they somehow could get into Charleston, that they could have, come by boat, do whatever they needed to do to get in. We could not get in. So we were basically given about, I would say, Francesca, 3 to 6 hours to replan our entire wedding and to really pick a new date. And here are some of the dates that were made available for us. And it felt like a whirlwind. You felt hit by a brick. The amount of text messages coming through were very, very overwhelming, how to tell all of our family and friends. So yeah, we basically had 6 hours to pick a new date, go from there. And unfortunately, and fortunately, because Charleston's such a beautiful place, we had to act fast. We had to act quickly because there are so little dates that you could choose. And some of the things that we had wanted to do, get married on a Saturday, all those different elements that, really at the end of the day, we'll get into that a little bit later, didn't matter, but were important to us, made us wait about 9 months to reschedule to a new date. So instead of having our wedding on September 15th, 2018, our new date was June 22nd. And yeah, we had it, and we'll again get into that later, but I know where you guys are. I feel for you. I know how just all the feelings that you must be going through right now, and it is a real thing. So I urge you to embrace those feelings and live with those feelings and take it all in, because it's scary. So that's why we're here for you guys today, really, too.
Yeah, everyone's probably going to judge me for this, but I remember this time so clearly, and I remember all of just the beauty things that you had done leading up to that moment, and then thinking, oh my God, she's going to have to do them all again. She's
oh my God. All of you brides know, you definitely are eating right. You probably, or maybe drinking less. First thing I did. But.
So, Britt, you obviously didn't have a choice in rescheduling, and we're going to come back to that. But we understand that there's many of you right now that are just in this really unknown position. Your wedding may be planned for May or June or even August. And I want to know from Francesca and Rachel, how you go about deciding whether or not to reschedule at this point if your wedding is a little bit further out.
So I can say the first thing to do is just breathe. Take a second. This is uncharted territory for everyone, not just our clients, but for us as well. Breathe and have a glass of wine. But we are all here as your vendor team, and we'll do whatever we can to transfer dates and act accordingly. And if you do have a planner, trust in your planner, because we can get things done quickly, as Britt knows. We had her whole wedding, I think, rescheduled, within less than a day. But trust in your vendor team, and really think of, at the end of the day, you guys are going to get married, whether it's now or if it's 6 months from now, you're going to get married. And do you want to put the lives of your friends and family at risk with this craziness that's going on right now? Or would you rather have everyone there and be healthy and happy and not feeling anxious? Can you imagine going to a wedding right now and how anxious you would even feel if you were allowed to go to one?
Yeah.
No. I think the thing is, this is tough to say, and everybody always wants to think there's someone out there who has the answer. And we don't know yet. So I think that if you're, in some ways, it's almost easier for people whose weddings were in March and April. It's you don't have a choice. It's canceled, right? But if your wedding's in July, June, July, August, those are big question marks. And I think that it comes down to sort of a few questions. So a few things to ask yourself. I know we'll get more into practicalities, but when, if you want to have something pretty close to the original wedding you had planned, when can your venue even accommodate you? It's a very popular venue. They might not even have anything until fall or winter, which could be a blessing in disguise, So I think that's the first thing is your venue. And then it's what's your risk tolerance, and how much will you care if some people don't make it? So if you reschedule for August, depending where your wedding is, there might be some people in August who aren't ready to get on a plane yet, or go to some destinations. And there might be some people who can't wait to go do something. I think it depends on people's age and their other situations. So I think you just have to ask yourself, if I was originally going to have this 200-person wedding and I reschedule it for July and only 100 are there, but everything else is the same, like, am I still going to feel great about that? Then that's what you should do. So you have to sort of like really be honest with yourself, I think, about those questions. And Francesca will talk more about this, but it's like the first thing, the people who are going to help you ask you those right questions and make those decisions are going to be your venue, or if you have a planner. So that's really, I think, where you want to start.
Right.
Great. Thank you.
And would you guys also suggest, I mean, a lot of people that have come to us have said, you know, right now they've eloped and maybe done a big party later. Francesca, you know, I know you mentioned a couple that had reached out about that. What would you suggest regarding that?
So if you are still able to get married on your actual wedding date, do it. If your city, state is allowing it, do it. At least you have your date that you can go back to and say, hey, we were still married here, and have a big party later. We have actually recently today spoke to a bride who is out of Maryland, who was never planning to get married in Charleston, actually was getting married in Pennsylvania, and reached out to us because she decided that she wants to have an elopement here in Charleston. Still have all the beautiful details. It's something that we do. We call it a styled elopement in a beautiful venue, still have all the bells and whistles. And just to say, you know, screw the planning. My venue gave away my date that I had on hold and I'm over it, and let's do it sooner than later. So there are brides that are definitely considering that, and then having the big party later, or maybe not having the big party later. For us, we do recommend rather to cancel altogether, just to postpone, because there are so many vendors that are impacted. You know, if you think of the wedding day, and I saw this statistic yesterday, which I found very interesting and very true. But if you think of a wedding day, there's about 13 small businesses on average that are included in one person's wedding day. And in Charleston, our market is so huge. There's, you know, 100 weddings a weekend. Can you imagine how many businesses are impacted directly because of this craziness that's going on? So rather than cancel, postpone, or if you want to elope, but go back and still have your party at your venue that you had already planned to have.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, in most cases, like the venue, that choice might not be made, might be made for you. Like you probably cannot get your money back. In most cases, they want you to postpone. And I'm going to say that as a lead into something else, which, you know, we've been talking about a lot at Love Stories TV, which just is remembering that and we actually talk about this all the time, not just in light of Corona. It's not like wedding vendors and couples and like you're so separate and so different. Like y'all are just people, right? So it's like you're worried about like your finances, like you've been saving up for your wedding and like you think it's really expensive, you know, but it's like these people, that's their like livelihood and that's their job, just like you're worried about your job in light of the greater, you know, economic situation. So like just talk to your vendors and talk to your venue and try to understand, like if you just talk person to person, they can explain to you like why they can't afford to just give you your money back, but they'd be happy to do it for you at another date. And again, we'll get more into the details of like how to start that whack-a-mole like process. But I just couldn't agree more. I think that like, you know, if you can get married now, I mean, now today, I don't even think you can go to like City Hall and like get married. But like, again, you might be able to do that in June and then have your big celebration like a couple months later. But, you know, I think that's the way to think of it. It's not like your vendors or your venues are like against you or you're really on this other side of the table. Like your people, their people, everyone in the world is being impacted by this crazy situation. Just call people up and be like, okay, like what can we do? Like where can you be flexible? Where can't you? And just have a conversation.
Let's skip ahead to that for just a second, because now that we're on that topic, I think it's really important, you know, that we do remember that everybody is really doing the best that they can, and you're talking person to person, and there are ways to communicate and ways to get creative in this situation, Rachel, that we spoke about earlier, and communicating with your vendors. So we're in this situation, like say you're in Brittney's situation, and it's absolutely not an option. I think for most people right now, it's pretty much not an option if it's in the next coming weeks, right? So what do you think the next steps are? Like, where do you even go from here?
Your plan.
How do you prioritize your vendor? How do you vendors like how do you decide what's most important at this point?
Yeah. Well, so I think, listen, if you're in a position where you have a true planner for your wedding, a full service planner, like obviously start there. I mean, you are paying this person for their expertise. They know everything. This is their job. Like, take a breath and call them, because you are in great shape. Not everybody has a full service planner for their wedding. We know that. So, Francesca said something earlier, which really resonated with me, is like, which of your vendors is sort of like your most trusted person? Maybe it's like that first person you hired, or maybe it's the person you become the closest to in the process. Like, wedding vendors are all wedding experts, right? So really any of them can probably give you good advice where to start. I think typically I would tell people to just start with the venue. One, because like everything else kind of depends on the venue. And two, the venue typically has a coordinator there. And that's like a really good person to start with. And what's typically going to happen is your venue is going to either say to you, okay, like here's the date you can have. Like, we have one date in 2020 or, in 2021, here's your date. Or they might say to you, here's 3 dates. And then if it's that later scenario, that's where you sort of have to look at all your vendors and be like, okay, who are the people I couldn't live without? And I feel a little weird saying that as someone who works with vendors. It's not like one's more talented than the other or more important, but we talk a lot at Love Stories VL. People have different priorities. Some people like have been dreaming about their wedding video for like the last decade, and that is the first person they hired and they want that videographer there. Some people are like, I just care about a dance party and I like die for this band and that's what I want. And everybody has different priorities. So it's like, you go to your venue, get your date choices, and then you start, start sort of with the vendors that are like the most important to you. And then I can give you some advice, like what to do if people like are available or if they're not. But I think that's sort of the first, first couple steps.
We're going to come back to that. So, yeah. Francesca, from your perspective, like specifically talking about Brittney's wedding, I remember her having to make these choices really quickly, and she had paper like all over her apartment, was on the phone with you, was on the phone with her mom, was on the phone, with everyone who's important to her, just kind of trying to navigate this. How did you begin?
So with us kind of holding the keys to all vendors, it allowed us to reach out to the venue first, see what dates were available, which in Charleston, Saturdays book up very quickly. And I knew that having a Saturday was a priority, which is why we had to push back as far as we did. But one thing to consider if you're a current bride looking to reschedule is off-peak is now on-peak. So these brides that are trying to schedule in August in Charleston, where it is so hot and insane, that's usually off-peak. Same goes for, the winter months, although the winter here is quite nice, not gonna lie. But the off-peak is now the on-peak. And if you're really concerned about having your vendor team and, every single person, consider a weekday in a really nice time of the year. Because guess what? Everyone's going to be available. It will be a non-issue. All of your vendors are going to work with you to transfer contracts. They want to do your wedding as much as you want them to do your wedding. Yeah. And everyone's anxious to get back to work. So the sooner the better, let us get back to our creative outlet and what we love. But back to Brittney's situation, wanting a Saturday and having to push that far out was definitely a challenge. But once we connected with the venue and got their availability, we of course checked with our availability. And then from there, luckily we're a planning team. There's 2 of us, so it's not just me. And Blake and I reached out to every single vendor and were able to essentially present them with, here are the dates that we can get everyone for. I don't think we had any loss of vendors with your wedding, did we?
We did not. It was 9 months. 9 months later. So thankfully it was really great. And everyone did come together. Everyone did come together as a team. Everybody feels for everybody during all of these times because they know how important it is for you. But you guys, it was like Charleston family, and you guys still remained our family, to this day. It's like they wanted it all to happen. Yes, they were losing money, but they knew that they wanted the state to go on. And yes, we lost money in different things, but our flower vendor, for example, because it was the week of, she was able to donate all of her flowers, which was like a tax write-off. So she was like able to donate the flowers, do some good with that. And we're like, oh, at least these flowers aren't dying, at least they're going to a good place. So just different ways. And I said to everyone, I said, thank you so much for being a part of it. Whatever I can do, whatever press I can get, whatever things we could do going forward after this, I will try my ultimate hardest because I so appreciated you all just, rallying around us as a couple, like our friends and our team did too.
Can I suggest one more thing too, which is I love this. We tell people all the time, like, consider a Friday wedding. Like, if you have like a dream venue, or, you know, but maybe it's a little high on the budget end for you, or it's like not available, like, people are traveling anyway. You know, if people are in town, like, they're happy to leave work like a little early on a Friday. Like, I think I couldn't agree more about that. And I think it's also like everyone's eager to get back to work. And I think in Brittney's situation, 9 months was totally reasonable, because a hurricane is like something we sort of understand. We know the seasonality. Like, it didn't feel that far away. But like, I would really encourage people to think about not waiting 9 to 12 months and trying to do it sooner, for like a couple of reasons. One, like, without sounding like, you know, an alarmist, like, we don't know what's going to happen this time next year. I mean, we'll obviously have a better handle on things as a global population, but we don't know yet. And like, you typically, you know, with your wedding vendors, maybe you make a deposit, but you pay them the second half of your payment, like, at the wedding, or you're paying them an installment. So like, the sooner you can have your wedding, like, you're helping these small businesses, like, get the ball back rolling again. Like, you know, you're just not losing momentum with your friends and family. So I just love that idea and would really encourage people to consider that. Like, if your venue's like, okay, we can do your same wedding in, you know, 9 months, be like, okay, well, like, do you have any Thursdays or Fridays in the next like 3 months? And I'm really trying to get people to think about
3
that.
to 6 months is ideal for sure. I agree with you.
Rachel, you had mentioned before when we were talking earlier today something about vendor redirects, and I had no idea about what that was or how that worked, but could you fill everyone in on that?
Yeah, so you might find yourself in a situation when your venue's like, okay, here's like 2 dates or the date, and you choose a date based on when most vendors can do it, and your florist is like, I just can't do that date. And you know, so there's 2 things to think about. So the florist might be like, I can't do that date, and I can't give you back your deposit. Like, I can't afford it. I'm a small business. Like, so 2 things. So you might be able to work something out with the florist where they might be able to say, okay, I'm going to keep your deposit, but I'm going to help you find another florist that I trust and that I like and that can do your date. And then, you know, now I'm speaking sort of to vendors, but vendors, like, that's an opportunity for you to like not lose, you know, the whole deposit, help somebody else get some new business. And you guys might be able to do like a commission sharing situation if you're like helping each other book more weddings. You know, or on the flip side, you might be able to say to that florist or to that venue, like, okay, I know I can't lose your deposit, but what if I can help you book another wedding, like, to replace mine?
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that, again, like, everybody's doing the best they can. Everybody's trying to not go out of business, but also, like, something we remind couples all the time is, like, no matter how amazing Love Stories TV is, like, every wedding vendor will tell you that their best business comes from word of mouth, right? And even as great as Love Stories TV is, like, a bride is not going to post her wedding video if she doesn't love her wedding. Somebody's not going to review you on Wedding Wire positively if they didn't have a good experience with you. So at the end of the day, wedding vendors like live and die by the recommendations of their clients. They want to keep you happy. They don't want to keep your deposit if you're going to be like really angry and upset. Like, they want to work it out with you. So I think just having that conversation, if you can't make the date work, can they help you find someone else? Or, like, you know, can you help them find someone else to maybe get some of your deposit back? It's a conversation worth having.
So it's really like you have to be incredibly creative and communicative in this situation. We're in a situation now, the sooner we all get back to our plans and our work, the better. So the idea is just kind of like moving that along. Yeah, I love that.
On that message and on that path, we've had a lot of you reach out about notifying your guests and that overwhelming job that feels just like such a burden of having to redirect everything. You know, Francesca, now that there is a new plan in mind and hopefully you've established your new date, how do you recommend any creative or organizational tips? Like, how do you recommend everyone reach out to their community?
So there's a few different ways you can do this. If your wedding is like very soon and you just had to postpone, or your venue canceled and you have no option, the best thing to do is to draft a text or an email that you can send to pretty much everyone. If you have a new date, essentially just say like, hey, we have a new date. We've been forced to postpone. We really want you to be there for the new date. We don't want you to feel anxious and overwhelmed with trying to travel to Charleston during this time. We understand. And, you know, because of that reason, we have postponed, and our new date will be this date at the same venue. If you don't yet have your date, or if you're working out the kinks, essentially, you can just tell guests the same thing and redirect them to your wedding website. Just don't forget to renew your domain, because they usually expire that day to the year.
Yep.
And also try and keep that updated as much as you possibly can through the rest of that process. We also have had a few of our brides, one last weekend, who actually did end up getting married, which is awesome. It was before Charleston went into lockdown mode. They were able to elope in her parents' backyard, which was super, super sweet. And the photographer, amazingly enough, offered to show up and take some photos. And they are sending that essentially as an announcement of, we're married and changed the date, and here's the new date, and we can't wait to see you, type of a thing, which was awesome and a great way to announce it.
So we are going to do a Q&A afterwards. I just saw a question that I feel like is really important. Do you think it's necessary to reprint invites?
I would say it depends on how soon your wedding is. If your wedding isn't until, I would say, 8 months or more, then yes, I would say to reprint invites. Whether or not you re-invite the entire guest list or re-invite just those that had said yes is a whole nother story. But in that case, I would say yes, reprint. They don't have to be anything crazy. Minted has amazing options. There's ways that you can customize them. They always have discount codes. Like, do that. That way you have something in paper. It's just a formality. Or have whoever your graphic designer was just send a, we've moved the date, and a simple RSVP. It needs to not be nearly as elaborate as the first invitation, but I definitely do think that something in writing in the mail to get to someone, if it is pushed further out, is ideal. And Minted is a great option for that. If the wedding is, for instance, we have one that had postponed from April to July, do I think they need to reprint invitations? It's a stationed dinner. It's not a sit down where there's meal choices, and it doesn't ride a ton on guest count. So for that being said, no, I don't think you necessarily have to resend an entire invitation. More so just a, change of date of some sort. So
we did not reprint our invitations 9 months later. I actually hired someone from TaskRabbit to mimic our first invitation, and we were able to send it out via email, via a link. There were many, many clicks on that link. So recognize that a lot of people are going to click on that. So know the bandwidth of that link. So we had to update that very quickly, because I had a lot of friends say we could not get this. But yeah, we did not. Exactly.
Like, it's not working.
Crash. But yeah, because we decided to invite all the yeses and some of the nos, because they were very excited that they could now make our new date, because
I remember this.
We weren't pregnant, we weren't, travel at another wedding or whatever. So yeah, we had more people, which was interesting to swallow, but we did not reprint our sites, because a lot of people now know that things are digitally and can be done through email. A friend of mine, the same thing. She moved her wedding to November, supposed to be in April. And she's, I believe, going to do a digital invite going forward.
And Rachel, you have a template that people can use. Can you tell us about the template that you have that we're going to send out to everybody who's here after the webinar? Rachel?
I think she's frozen.
Oh, she's frozen.
Wow.
Oh, no.
For once, I'm not.
On that note, then, can you tell us about, you have a elopement package?
Yes. Yes. So
pretty amazing.
We're really excited. We've always had a styled elopement package, which essentially is for our brides who have come to us for whatever reason, that don't want the big, huge wedding and just want to have the photos and the experience of having a wedding just on a much smaller scale. But due to the coronavirus and the amount of postponements and just uneasy brides, it's not even necessarily that they've had to postpone, but a bride who's just in the beginning stages of planning and trying to plan something for, the late summer or early fall, or they have a more quick turnaround. We've actually put together a curated package that is with our go-to vendor team, Designer's Choice, which I can promise is a really great team, and is a flat rate that a bride would come to us and they would be able to book this package and still have an amazing photographer, have the beautiful venue, all the photos, all the flowers, someone to marry them, and have the experience. And whether or not they end up having the big wedding or the party later, they at least would have the celebration early on.
Amazing. Rachel's back. I just thought you were really focused for a second, Rachel.
So weird. Oh, I was frozen but not gone. Okay.
Totally frozen. But Rachel, we were just talking about this template that you have that we're going to send out to everybody after. Can you tell us about it a little bit?
Yeah. And so I was going to say also, like, with the change the dates, like I've seen like tons of like Minted, and even some places like Zazzle and Zola, like a lot of places are doing these change the dates. So if you, to the point everybody else said, if you wanted to just send like a digital change the date or even order them, like everybody's doing them. People are offering really good offers to be nice. But okay, so with the template, so first of all, like it's 2020, like I encourage everybody to have a phone number and an email for everyone coming to their wedding anyway, because people, like some people don't RSVP, some people like, don't tell you what they want to eat. Like you just never know. And you need to be able to like get a hold of everybody. So I think like having a phone number and an email for everyone, like from the get, is like a really good idea. And something we do on this template, which we're going to send around, is we encourage people to categorize their different guest types. So it's like, if you look at mine, like I use the initials in my family, but it's like the friends of the couple usually have a very different tech savvy than the friends of like the grandparents or the friends of the parents. So I think it's really smart to categorize them in your spreadsheet. So it's like, let's say you have to postpone your wedding and you've used our template from the beginning and you sent a mass email to everybody being like, okay, here's the situation we're postponing. I would then say to like your mom or your dad, like, here's the people on our list that are your friends. Like you need to like text them or like, email them, like make sure like, did they get that email? Like, do they know what's going on? And sort of break your list up into like those different groups of people, because people can like, miss emails or like miss a text. And like, you want to know that people like got that information. So I think it's like, send this mass email and then like use that categorization in the template to assign you, your future spouse, your different parents or grandparents, or siblings to like reach out to the people that sort of fall under their bucket in the list, and just like do this and make sure everybody knows. Exactly.
So like moving forward now, you're in this situation where you're now redoing all your contracts and figuring out the next plan. Is there anything you would say that people should really look for in the contracts that they're signing moving forward to make sure, because we just don't know how long this is gonna extend, what situation they're in, how they can really prepare themselves in case another shift needs to be made?
Yeah.
So it's definitely uncharted territory for a lot of people, but your seasoned vendors are either going to have a new contract or an addendum to the existing contract. And one thing that we have in place is, postponement policies. Can we postpone more than once? Unfortunately, no. We are a small business and we do, rely on our events following through. So we wouldn't postpone more than once. God forbid a client, reschedules for a date in September and say there's a hurricane. Right. Can we postpone it again? No, we can't. We are a small business and we do rely on, the monies coming in throughout the year for the different events. And as a planner, our work is completed throughout the whole process. It's not just a day of like, we get there the day of and then you give us our final balance or whatever else. Like we've been working with a lot of these couples for a year and a half, sometimes longer. And so with us, our postponement policy is we're happy to postpone once and to transfer everything over just as long as nothing is being redesigned. But another thing to look at for other vendors is sometimes there's going to be rescheduling fees, and it is more so a vendor to vendor thing, and to really look at your contracts, especially if you don't have a planner, that can make sure that you guys are in the know before you do those reschedules.
And, you know, the other thing I would touch on too is like some of your, sorry, my equity, some of your vendors might not be seasoned. You know, I love that word. It's such a good way to describe it. Like these are small businesses, people are up and coming, and you know, again, I'm just gonna like reiterate what I said before, which is just like talk to people. So when you're signing those contracts in the first place, now that this has happened, it's on everybody's radar. So when you're signing contracts in the first place, be like, or when you're going to do the reschedule, be like, what if we find ourselves in this situation in March, April again next year? Like, what is your policy? You know what I mean? Like, and they might not have it in their contract yet, and you guys might figure it out together and like put it in there. You know, your venue is almost always probably going to have a cancellation or an act of God like policy. So just like make sure you read that through, and if you have questions, just ask. But I think if you're working with like a vendor who doesn't have, you know, really formal contract process yet, and you are going to sign the invoice and you see that there's no mention of like cancellations or rescheduling, don't just hope for the best. Like, just talk to them, be like, let's put something in writing, and you can decide together. But again, it's like, these are just we're all just people, you know what I mean? Like, just talk, ask questions, like figure it out together, and you're helping each other out because you're helping them craft their policy going forward. And communicate.
And the other thing that I do want to mention is insurance. I mean, if you didn't have it the first go around, please have it the second go around. You know, insurance can really like save your ass, really. You know, vendors do need to be paid. They've been holding these dates, and now that some of these postponements are going into, you know, more of a peak season even, you know, for instance, if we have an open weekend in September that we could still very well book, and a postponement, you know, eases their way into that, you know, we could essentially lose money from that, and say it needs to be postponed again. Just have yourself covered, get the insurance. There are a number of websites that do offer it. WedSure, WedSafe. You can get it as an extension of your homeowners, renters policy, any of that. Just do it. It will save you. And it is so minimal for how much it will truly save you. I cannot reiterate that enough.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's probably learned that lesson.
Yes.
So I guess kind of in wrapping things up, I want to ask you guys a couple things. One, I want you to answer 2 questions for me, each of you. One, what is your tip for remaining like optimistic and positive in this situation? Like what can extra time provide you? What would you suggest in this moment that you can see a silver lining for everyone that's in this situation? That's one. Go.
Okay. I would say at the end of the day, just think about, what is this all for? You're getting married. Whether it is today or 6 months from now, 9 months from now, a year from now, you're getting married. And that's, of course, the most important thing. Sometimes I feel like people get lost in the glamour and the pretty of weddings, and forget about the real reason for the wedding. So I say, just remember why you're here, why you're doing this, and that it's for you as a couple. Certainly can test your relationship. We have seen that happen quite a few times. But at the end of the day, you are getting married. And the other thing is, to be completely honest, you know, would you have had, if your wedding was scheduled for, let's say, this weekend, would you have actually had the dream wedding that you really wanted this weekend? Would everyone have actually come? No, you would have had a ton of people cancel. So why not let those people not feel anxious and be able to come and travel for your wedding, that, you know, in a time that's not so anxiety ridden, and that they can actually enjoy and celebrate with you.
Love that.
Yeah, I think so. 2 things. I think, like, we talk about this at Love Stories a lot. Like, part of the inspiration behind starting the company was that I think wedding videos really do something that photos can't. Like, you can't forget. You can't get lost in the glamour and the pretty when you're watching a video, because you're hearing the speeches and you're hearing the vows and you're seeing people's reaction to one another. Sometimes you're on Pinterest and you're looking at beautiful wedding photos, and it's exactly like Francesca said. You can just like sort of forget that it's a wedding and just think that it's like this like a beautiful party. And it's more than that. And so and I'm not just saying this to like promote Love Stories, but like if you're feeling stressed and anxious about your wedding any day of the year, like go on Love Stories and watch wedding videos. It will relax you. It will like make you happy. It will remind you like what you're doing. Like I watch them to like feel like less stressed during this like crazy time. Like my Twitter feed is like such a bummer right now. And like watching wedding videos is really like saving me. So that's like thing one. And thing two is like, and again, I say this to people on our podcast all the time, even when it's not like this current situation with Corona. Like, do you know how lucky you are? You found someone you want to marry. Like, think of all your friends out there that are like, on the dating apps, like struggling to find someone, or who are like quarantining by themselves right now. Like, you are so lucky. And like sometimes you need a little tough love and be reminded that like you found someone you want to marry. You have enough resources to throw a big wedding with like hundreds of guests. Like, you are doing great. You are ahead of the curve, and you sometimes you got to just like remind yourself that and take a breath. So that's my Judy like tough love thing that I do.
I like that. B, what would you say?
So for me, I am not going to say it was always roses and laughter. I mean, there were definitely the times that I was angry, more so angry at the things that I had already done before and spent time on. So everything that I was redoing, you know, the table.
You hid that quite well.
What'd you say?
You hid that quite well, if that was the case.
That's nice.
Maybe that was more inner.
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't see a bit of that.
Maybe that was more inner because it was probably, you know, impacting some of my work time and things that I had already done. So I was spending more time on it. But, you know, I embraced those times. I gave myself a little bit of room to breathe through those feelings, the anger. I tried not to fight with my partner, with Ryan, which is easier said than done. But it allowed me also to run through the checklist, and we happened to go to a few weddings, a bunch of weddings. And it was almost like I was able to look at the other weddings and see those as examples of tests of things that, you know, we need to have music during this time when it's like white noise. Like, I need to have someone taking care of my girls during this time where I am like, I have no phone. I have no pockets in my dress. I have nothing. Who the heck is leading these people across a large plantation? Like, where they have no idea where to go. It's those simple things of like that wouldn't have been done before. I had a surprise for Ryan that could not actually happen because there's an ordinance that was, you know, made to be at our venue. And I was very excited about that. Just personally, it was supposed no one in my family knew, but I was able to take some time and think about what would I really want to do for him that he would really want to enjoy. And it ended up being like so much better and cooler and so much fun. It was a mixology bar, by the way. It was a bourbon bar.
That's so cute.
It was very cool, you know, because cocktails suck at weddings. But so, yeah. And lastly, like knowing that keeping your friends and your support system around you and embracing those people. My girlfriends came together and threw a Florence and the Levine party. I know we can't all be with our circle right now, but maybe it's getting on, you know, a webinar, a Zoom together, toasting like that moment, maybe having a faux wedding, getting dressed up together and just like being together. And that's, I mean, my team, I could not even ask for that. And knowing also lastly, that when that day does come, whether you already had eloped, it is a party, it is something that, you know, it's a bigger thing with all your family and your friends there and the people that you really want there, that it will be better than ever before. And at the end of the day, it's only you and your partner. It's saying those vows, making those promises, and starting a whole new life together and putting that perspective on, like Francesca, like Rachel said, that's really that moment that is what the wedding is. And all that other stuff, I mean, everyone says that they had the best time, even though they were sweating their asses off, they were melting, but our band, the food, the music, I mean, they were on the dance floor. There was not one person.
You guys partied.
We couldn't even be carried off the dance floor to sign our wedding agreement because people were like, they brought it for us, knowing that we had to postpone. I maybe not want to get up and dance at this song, but because it's them, we're going to get up and dance and we're going to do this. So that's just my little saying, maintaining that optimism as hard as it is worth it. It is worth it to know that date will happen for the both of you. Yeah.
So we have a few more minutes left, and we definitely want to open it up to Q&A really quickly. But someone else just posted, how would you announce a postponement if the invite hasn't been sent yet? I'm assuming that means it's probably ordered already.
So I would say if they haven't done a save the date, then I don't know that you necessarily even need to like formally announce it, because the only way people would know of a date is if you did a save the date. So I would just let your immediate circle of people who know the date know that it's going to be changed. If invites are in process, I did see something with Minted actually pop up in my inbox today, that if your invites are in process, that they will do whatever they can to help you. Oh, I see save the date was sent. So I would send a change the date and just send that as your actual invitation. Or if you want to make an announcement on like social or send an email or something along the lines of that, I think that's probably the best way to go. If you have a wedding website, put all your information on that. And also to draft an email that just explains, you know, we are choosing to postpone due to this, and we want everyone there happy and healthy and anxiety free. And here's our new date, and additional information can be found on our wedding website. And a new invitation will follow. And if you can halt those from being printed, you know, definitely do that and change the date accordingly.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like if the save the date went out, but not the invitation, I would send a digital change the date so that you can get it out as fast as you can. And we talked, right, like Minted does print and digital, Zola does print and digital, Paperless Post does it. You know, if you work with an independent designer, we have some great people at Love Stories TV in our Love Club. If you want some recommendations, they could design you something, you can embed it in an email. But I would like go ahead and get it out and then have your invitation have the new date. I totally agree.
But if it's a financial situation where, like, you know, you've already done all that, in that situation, I say just do a paperless post, right?
I would just move to a digital invite. If your invitations won't give you your money back, they're already printed, that's like a great place where it's like, okay, like it stinks. Like I loved my wedding invitations. They were beautiful. But like, take a breath and just be like, okay, like I can't get that money back. I'm going to do a digital invitation, which a lot of people are doing now anyway. You know,
I only did it at a digital invitation. Exactly. That's because I'm a little lazy. But the 100%. Thing that I mean, I feel like if it's an invitation you're proud of, like send the change the date, like send a digital one, and then in addition to that, also like to the people that are going to keep the invitation forever, like your grandparents and your mother and father and your best friends. Just give it to them. They're gonna love it. Yeah, they're gonna frame it regardless of the date.
Right.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions before we wrap this up? Or do you guys have anything else you want to say? Did we miss anything?
No, I think we covered a lot. I mean, just hang in there. Unlike a natural disaster, which sadly in the Southeast we're very used to handling, it's usually just one terrible weekend that we have to do a reschedule for. This is impacting everyone across the country, across the globe. So bear with us. Your vendors have your best interest in mind, and we will, as the planner, for sure, do everything to advocate for our clients and to get their date moved as swiftly and stress-free as we possibly can.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say one more thing, which is, so if you're not familiar with Love Stories TV, it's LoveStoriesTV.com. Come check it out. Like I say, you can watch wedding videos from venues all over the world. So it's a great way to find vendors who have already worked at venues you're considering, or to research venues when you can't go visit them in person. We also have an email address called BFF, like best forever friend, at LoveStoriesTV.com. And if you email us with a little bit about your wedding and the date, we'll pull together a curated list of vendors for you. So we can take your date and post it to our vendors. and basically see who's available in that place at that time and help connect you in a personalized way, which we're super happy to do. And, you know, those are two great places to start. And then finally, you should also, if you visit LoveStoriesTV.com and you get on our email list, we're going to be sending out an email with vendors who are offering like special opportunities because of this situation. So
Love that.
yeah, so either like a discount or like a free one-on-one consultation or whatever. So we have a bunch of resources coming. So follow us on Instagram, get on our email list, and then or DM me if that's easier, and we'll help you out.
Everybody on the chat has moved quickly. The wind is lovely in November, Alex. It's going to be amazing. Alex, just a question for you, and you can type this in, but did your venue shut down indefinitely? Did you find a new space already? Yes, it did. And you already found a new location. Oh, okay. Until after June. Okay, got it. Same location. So she's in the same location. It's just after June is the new situation. And sorry, I'm going to come back to Daniela. She said, my wedding is canceled, was planned on 11/04. You mean 4? Got it. Sure. We will still have elopement on the day. It's our anniversary. We made a design, we designed everything on our own, invitations, do-it-yourself table cards, how not to cry just looking at it.
I hear you, Daniela, and I would take a moment to just cry. Take a moment to let those tears roll because they're beautiful. You've spent the time, you've spent the money, you've put the effort into them. I still posted our original invitations at one point because I was like, these things they look like, you know, artifacts.
They were beautiful.
They're gorgeous. And I still sent those invitations to our photographer because normally we would bring them to the date. And I said, you know, Clay, do you mind photographing these just so we have them and knowing them? And I still have the link to the digital ones we sent so that I can remember both. I have 2 invitations. And I always say to a lot of people that ask about that, how many times are you given the chance to marry the same person twice?
I love that.
Very, very rare, very rare. So the fact that we have 2 invitations is something that we make light about. And I was sad too, because I was like, oh my, I stuffed all those damn invitations myself. I stuffed them. They were boxes. I hand delivered them with my girls that work for me. It was a process because you got to make a statement, right? With those invites. I get it. But it took a second. Realized that still love these invitations, would love the photographs of them, and then love the digital ones that look similar too. We just have 2 instead of 1.
Love that. Ashley said, our venue is going to call all guests to change reservations to our new date, as long as people can still come. But how do I kindly, politely ask my guests not to bombard reservations as soon as I send my new date announcement?
If you know for sure that your venue is going to reach out to the guests that have reservations, I would note something in the new date announcement, just saying if you had an existing reservation, they will be in touch with you. And I think people will get the gist of it at that point. A lot of hotels, if your venue is a hotel, a lot of hotels are bombarded right now. A lot of hotels have laid off a lot of people. And so even as simple as moving like a room block or something of that nature is taking, you know, 2 or 3 times as long to actually get a response because they are so short staffed at this point, and have laid off so many people that I think if you just put something short and sweet in there that, you know, if you had a reservation, they will be reaching out to you for the reschedule.
And I just can't stress enough that I feel like with weddings, there's so much, like, even a wedding that doesn't change the date, there's so much information about like who's staying where and can you bring kids and who's babysitting and how are we getting there? No. And that's why I really like this idea that we have in our template of like having every guest assigned to a category with like an owner in your family. So you send out that email and then you're like, Mom, I need you to text or call like all the people in your group or like these people in your group and ask them to tell their kids and to tell their sister, like, and say to, you know, I don't think that that's should be written off or overlooked, because I just think there's like a lot of information, and not everyone in every generation like reads email. Like, send those emails. I agree completely. And then like follow up with a call or a text to people who you think need it. That's what I would do.
So we have one more. My wedding is in June, mid-June. When should I make the decision to postpone with everything changing by the hour?
So this is where you have to, if you don't have a planner like Francesca, this is where you need to, Paula, like email all of your vendors now and ask them like what are the vendors you care most about, and like look back at your contracts and find out like when is your florist going to order those flowers, because if the flowers have already been ordered, then they are a lot less flexible than if the flowers haven't been ordered yet. Like similar things to the food or any kind of signage, like when have the materials actually been ordered and started to be made, because vendors want to work with you and want to be flexible, but if they have sunk costs, then like they're not going to be as flexible. So I think that that's what the first step is, like to reach out to some of those vendors and find out on their end, like, is there a date by which you have to order certain things, or you can or cannot be more or less flexible? I think that's like a really important thing to do early.
Great advice. I just had a text question of someone that came in because I know a lot of you are very used to sequences leading up to your weddings in terms of bachelorette party, shower, wedding, or vice versa, or mixed. And I had a friend that, her bachelorette party's now postponed because we can't get there, and her wedding is also postponed. And, very, very close girlfriend of mine, same thing. And what I would say to you about that is that even if your wedding occurs before your bachelorette, take the lead. Don't have anybody, you take the lead. Don't, have your maid of honor, work with her on specific dates, but email your girls, email the people that were going to be on the trip, and have it, she did it again, or she done it again party. I think that's what another friend is calling it, and making it a girls trip, like a she did it party. So it's like, instead of, losing that trip, losing those moments, because they are really, really fun moments. I didn't know Bevin during her wedding, unfortunately. We now, when she does like a 5-year, like enormous party, I cannot wait to be a part of that. But she didn't really do the bachelorette party, and I'm going to be on that planning committee with her best friends to help and be there in any way, shape, or form to make it that sick girls trip, and say like she did it and she made it, to 5 years or whatever it is, because you can still have that moment post wedding. I know it doesn't have to be that sequence of everything that we always do and know and plan leading up to that event. So get those she did it parties ready to go. Speak to your team. And you take it into your hands to really email your girls of a select dates of maybe hopefully when this could work in the fall. But great.
Kind of just to cap it all off, I think the most important thing is just right now, as a collective culture of humans, we have to be so incredibly grateful for the help that we have, the loves that we have, and kind of get really malleable and creative in this moment and really reach out to each other. I think, I'm incredibly grateful for technology today to allow us a way to come together and communicate and support one another in this situation. So, Francesca, thank you so much. Rachel, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I miss you. Come home.
I know we're not together.
Thank you guys so much. We will be sending out some information post this, so just keep a look in your inbox. Stuff from Rachel, stuff from Francesca. Thank you guys for joining and participating. Bye, guys.
Bye.
I can't get off.
Bye.